My name is Keya Bayramova. I am from Turkmenistan, but I live in Toronto. And I'm a third daughter of artist Durdy Bayramov. So I'm a founder, executive director of Durdy Bayramov Art Foundation in Toronto and Bayramov Museum.
So you mentioned Durdy Bayramov. Could you please tell me about his works? When was he born? Which years was he working, and a little bit about his work.
Okay. My father, Durdy Bayramov, is an artist from Turkmenistan. He born in 14th of April 1938 at Bayramali, and so he grew up he was orphan, and he grew up in the Kizilarvat orphanage number 23. So after he graduated from the school, he proceeded his study at the Turkmen College of Art, and then afterwards in the Surikov Institute in Moscow. My dad was, so he's 55 years of prolific years, and the only thing what he did was teaching art and just being an artist. So he never did anything else in his life. My dad passed away in 2014, and now myself and my family, my three sisters, my mom, we officially opened Durdy Bayramov Art Foundation in Toronto to continue his legacy and of course introducing his art to all over the world.
I actually have met your father very briefly at an exhibit of Izak Klichev in Ashgabat, and I know that Durdy Bayramov was of course a famous painter, but also he was great friends with a lot of famous artists in Turkmenistan, musicians, painters, Nurullah Mamedov and others. Could you tell about his collaboration maybe with his friends, and if he collaborated with them, or if he did any work, or if there's any interesting stories that you have?
Yeah, sure. So since you met my dad in the exhibition of Izak Klichev, I want to start to tell a little bit about Izak Klichev. First of all, Izak Klichev was a mentor for my dad, and my dad, he admired him. Plus to that, they was brother-in-laws. So they married two sisters. Yeah. So, but not many people they know about that, and but I know that there's a lot of in our archive right now that I'm working on. It's a lot of letters from my dad's diary, where he is describing how much close he was to Izak Klichev and how much influence. So one of the stories that is in the notes, it says, when I came back from Moscow, he's the one who teach to see the colorit of Turkmenistan. Basically, he teach him how to understand his own country. And we always, my dad, he wrote many letters, and I know that they met in his studio, and vice versa. So that's with Izak Klichev. With Nurullah Mamedov, they was both orphans, and they was very, very good friends. So I remember when I was small, we always visiting with my dad, Nurullah Mamedov family, and there is also a lot of stories, inside the stories. So my dad, he drew many portraits for the portraits of Nurullah Mamedov. When Nurullah Mamedov, he's dedicated a song called Shemal, and it's dedicated to Durdy Bayramov. My father, in his lifetime, so he has a work series called cultural people. So that's include over 150 portraits of the people who contribute to the cultural of Turkmenistan, which includes writers, musicians, artists, was a ballet, theater, scientists, doctors, and he has explanation also why he include these people in this series. So there is a list that he's supposed to, there is a long list that he is supposed to continue to draw, include, you know, the people who is included in this series. As many, you know, so one day I will disclose all this list, but unfortunately, you know, he couldn't finish this series. But you know, so that, you know, after my dad passed away, so I contact some people and I was asking them, can you please just tell me your memory? You know, for me it was important the interaction, how this person was posing in his studio, you know, and what conversation, how difficult it was to pose. So that, you know, one day I think it will be interesting to see how the artist is looked to this, to the people, and the people looking to the artist. You know, there what was you know, it's some interesting stories behind, you know, so I collect quite a good information, so, and I would love to share this to the world, but my first priority is, of course, I want to share this with our own people. So our own people should know that there is many talented people in our country that deserve the attention and has to be known to, I think I can say, to the global family, you know, because there is less information available about art and culture of Turkmenistan. Of course, we know about Turkmen jewelry, we know about Turkmen horses, we know about Turkmen carpets, but music, art, that is also important, and I think we have to work together to make this all accessible to the world.
So thank you so much for that. So you mentioned the, you know, the global family, and we're today standing at the epicenter of the you know, in New York City, at the very heart of New York City, at the campus of Columbia here. And today we kicked off the exhibit for Bayramov's photographs. Could you talk a little bit about the exhibit here in New York City, and also about the other works that you're doing with the foundation around the world? Let's say just 10 months ago you were involved with a music festival in Moscow, which was incredible, and my sister was a part of. And I know you're doing other works as well all over the world. So if you could mention some of the projects that you're doing just briefly recently, and also what are you doing now, and then if you could close off with what are the hopes for the future of the foundation, and what kind of things that you are looking forward
so
to.
That's too many questions.
So let's start with
okay, let's start from the first one.
Yeah, so let's start with if you could
the
tell me
here.
The exhibition,
right.
And then also the recent,
Okay, the photography exhibition begin from Toronto. So we have a Contact Photography Festival in Canada. So we begin from, we start to work, actually that's how the story was. We start to work on the archive. And we have a lot of films, and he was taking a picture for his own use. It was a study for his paintings. He never considered himself as a photographer. And I don't think so that, you know, he was ever thought that these photographs could be exhibited in public. So we started to digitize these photographs, and the people who was working on this project found these photographs fascinating, and they said, okay, we should submit to the photography festival. And I say, it could be a good idea, but I don't think so, because my father never considered himself as a photographer. So let's try. We tried, and yes, we were lucky. We was top 4 feature exhibition of the festival. So from there, after this exhibition was successful, and then I thought it will be nice to share with the academic institutions. My father was the advocate of the art education, and it was important for him that knowledge and knowledge. And every interviews that I see, the old interviews that before even I born, my father repeatedly saying that knowledge is very important. So I decide that it is my duty to share with the academic institution. So we were lucky, and I'm thankful for George Washington University, the Central Asian program. So we begin from there, and then this exhibition next traveled to Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston, and now we're here today in New York and Columbia University. From Columbia University we have the University of Toronto, which will be in October, and so on. Today we have around 10 institutions worldwide, which is include Europe and Asia, but I'm hoping to get more. We don't want to stop on that, and I want to share as many people as possible the photographs of Turkmen village life, 1960s to 1980s, and most of these photos was taken in the Mari regional. Yeah, and the reason why is my father, he always went to that part of the world is because he was orphan, and he was always looking for his parents. In the diary it says, in every face of older people I look for my mother and my father. And I was thinking, now I lost my dad, and I cannot imagine how he could live all his life with no relatives. He couldn't pick up the phone just to say hi to his sister or to his mom, dad, or brother, or any relatives. I understand now how life of my father, how lonely he was. Inside him he was a little boy who was still looking for his parents. So we decide that we dedicate our life to our father.
So my next question was if you could talk about the other programs that you're also doing with the foundation, including the festival in Moscow, and if there's any others that you're planning in the future.
Okay. We opened in 2015 January, and from so we begin our programming. So the programming began to introduce people to our cultural, to our Turkmen cultural. So we had a series of the lectures, which include Turkmen Carpet Day. We invite Natalia Nekrasova, who is a curator from Textile Museum of Canada. She had 20 years experience working at the museum in Oriental Museum in Moscow. So she's familiar with Turkmenistan. She has been there. So she had a wonderful lecture explaining people about Turkmen carpet, how important it is, and it's one of the best in the world. Yeah, so I'm not even afraid to say that, because we have the expert said that. And there's one interesting thing that she said. She said, if you want to know from which regional this person, when you enter inside his home, you look at the carpet, and from the carpet, from the girls of the carpet, you will understand if he is taking your wood and so on. That was something to learn. and interesting. So another thing we did, it was a lecture about Turkmen instruments. So it's a dutar, specifically dutar in Gujak. We had invited Brad Smith from Smithsonian Institution. He did his PhD on this subject, and it was another wonderful presentation about Turkmen instruments. We also had ambassador of Canada, the United States, and Mexico, Bayramov, who came and he did a presentation about Turkmenistan history. So that was another wonderful opportunity for the people, for the students to come and to hear from the first hand. We did the concert, so we come to the concert. So we did the first concert in Canada, that Turkmen classical music. So it was dedicated, that concert was dedicated to memory of Durdy Bayramov and Nuri Halmamedov. Then we organized a composer competition. That was again on the memory of two great friends, Durdy Bayramov and Nuri Halmamedov. We had 59, we have a submission from 59 countries. Yeah, that was a very interesting project, and I really enjoyed that. So we launched that project with the Festival of Nuri Halmamedov in Moscow, and it was very successful. So we had submissions from Turkmenistan, which we were very, very happy, and from other part of the world, and we had second place was given to a student from the conservatory in Turkmenistan.
That's great. So if you don't mind, we can close off on what are your hopes for the foundation? What kind of projects are you working on now? Possibly, if you can share, or what are your dreams of kind of where do you hope the foundation goes from here?
Yeah, right now we're working on the archive, and I understand that, you know, doing the exhibition, it's great, but till we don't find what we have in our archive, we cannot move on with the speed that we was doing in these 2 years. So I want to also share that our collection right now includes over 2,000 paintings of Durdy Bayramov, which is in Canada. Another collection we have is the jewelry, Turkmen jewelry that my father was collecting he was never collected as a collector to, you know, for his, to be rich, but he was collecting as objects for his paintings. So we have a lot of paintings that, you know, you can see the Turkmen elements, so jewelry, Turkmen carpets. So he was a collector of the Turkmen jewelry. So that jewelry is also part of our museum collection. We also have traditional Turkmen clothes, which again my father was collecting for his study. So there is a lot of portraits that we have. Woman is wearing kurte or traditional clothes or yashmak, you know, all these elements. So they're all part of our collection right now. So in the future we are hoping to, of course, my father is a countryman. You know, he is a truly people artist, and he dedicated all his life to art and to his beloved Turkmenistan. So my duty now as a daughter to introduce my father's art in his land. Of course, it's our country, so to introduce our culture. So that's a big goal, and I think all together, all of us, we can do that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time and this wonderful interview.
Thank you so much.